Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us back here. Welcome back to my channel for all of you that are arriving again. Okay, you like the content and you decided, hey, I want to see what she's talking about. So you decided to return. I really appreciate you. And for our newcomers, if you just so happened to run across this video and wanted to see what I was talking about, thank you for being here. Snaps to you. Now, let's just go ahead and get into all of the things because this is, again, a nightly rant that I have just thought about on a whim. I've been very inspired to run my mouth. So here I am. Yeah. Um, so I've been talking a lot about just healing my feminine energy more than anything else. And a part of that, the biggest part of that is my self-esteem. And I want to kind of streamline this into a conversation because I understand that sometimes I jump around a bit. Okay. Blame the ADHD brain. But yeah. Anyway, so as it relates to my self-esteem, that has always been troublesome ever since I was growing up. Really, it really didn't start until I started school. As soon as I would say first grade, it just all went downhill from there. So if you can imagine myself, I'm an attractive person. I have my flaws just like anyone else. And I was, the family's cute kid on both sides, my mom's side and my dad's side. Everybody loved me and everybody just thought I was so cute. So imagine the culture shock starting school and now having to battle with children in regards to the self-esteem that my family has instilled in me. It was definitely something traumatic, to say the least. I had been bullied probably somewhere between first grade to maybe about fourth grade. And it was just very unfortunate because what do you do about that as a child? Because you feel as though maybe it's something that you can do to fix it, and then realizing there isn't anything that you can do to fix it. And my mom tried to help. She would always say, those kids, those girls, they're just jealous, because you are beautiful. You're a kind girl, and so on and so forth. And I was like, yeah, mom, you're right at home, but that didn't stop me from thinking otherwise when I went to school. Now, hindsight 2020, in my adult age, I realized that I started to develop anxiety, very crippling anxiety, to where every day before school, and again, I live at that point in time with a lot of my family members, and my auntie, she would say, every time it's time for you to go to school, you have to use the restroom. Like I have to do number 2. I didn't know that that was anxiety, guys. I didn't know that that's what it was. Or like midday, like around lunch, I would get sick. And it wasn't because of the food. Like I would just have crippling anxiety like all day. So before I leave for school, my stomach starts to hurt and now I have to use the restroom. And then in the middle of the day, because I've eaten something and put something on my stomach, now I'm like getting sick almost every other day and having to go into the nurse's office and so forth because I was literally dealing with crippling anxiety for most of my elementary school days. Middle school got a little better because I had just gotten to the point where I had just accepted the fact that, okay, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And if I just have to be alone and I don't have, and people don't necessarily want to be friends with me or whatever, I'll just move on from there. Granted, middle school was definitely more diverse. So, people were more open. High school didn't care at all. Couldn't care the slightest about anything or anyone at that point. I was just happy to be finally done with this school thing in high school and ready to graduate. But all of that definitely played a huge part in my self-esteem as a woman and just growing up. So I had gotten to the point where I would just think to myself, okay, I'm cute. Like, I'm cute, but I'm not cute to everyone. And it's not to say that I wanted to be cute to everyone, but just put it this way. I just felt like, okay, my family really hyped me up. And maybe in the real world, it does not translate. So I'm good with that. Okay, I've come to accept it. Those people that like me, they like the way I look, they like what I bring to the table, then fine. So reaching that level of acceptance of myself at that point, it allowed me to make do with my self-esteem. Definitely needed healing, but it would only go downhill from there. Yeah, it would only go downhill from there. Graduated high school, ended up being in a relationship with someone that was extremely abusive in all the ways that you can think. Very abusive. And the little piece of acceptance of myself that I did have, oh, that was no more. That no longer belonged to me within that relationship. And I could not for the life of me understand, because in one breath, this person would hold me up on this pedestal as it regards to, my looks and who I am and so forth. But on that other hand, did physically the exact opposite. And I just could not understand it, because in my female brain, it was okay if someone bought me a bouquet of flowers and it's a gorgeous bouquet, it's fresh, it's new, and it's beautiful. I want to preserve these flowers for as long as I can. So if I have to put water, treatment in the water, whatever, if I have to take them out, if I have to put them near the sun, I have to snip the stems, that's what I'm going to do, because I want to preserve these beautiful flowers. So imagine my 18, 19, 20-year-old brain. I cannot understand, like, it would not compute. Yeah, I'm a little slow, y'all. Just chill. It just would not compute how someone could say these things. But you're admiring the flowers, you're admiring the bouquet, but all you did was throw them across the bed and lay on them and sleep on them for like the next week. You did nothing to preserve them. You just threw them on the floor, or threw them on the couch only to forget about them. So that really did a number on me. I can't even lie. And of course, as I've gotten older and more experienced and have dealt with relationships, some not as bad, and others, I was definitely the villain. It really did a number on me. But now here it is, I'm 30, and I'm just looking at who I am as a person, inside and out. All of the good that I have to offer this world and to the people around me. And for the very thing that people tried to snatch from me, which is my light, finding that again, oh, you can't tell me nothing. Like, you literally cannot tell me anything, because I know that I am a gorgeous woman. And I do say that proudly. Normally, I would say, oh, humbly, of course. No, I say that proudly. I am a gorgeous woman. Like, I am. And it's not much that anyone can tell me in this moment for me to think otherwise. Yes, I'm plus size, but the plus size girlies, their mugs eat. They eat, okay? I'm doing a lot of people a favor by maintaining my size. So sometimes I just sit here and I think, because I would have a moment where I don't really feel myself, or someone has made me second guess my worth or who I am as a person. And the most disgusting things that I could ever think about myself or even say to myself have erupted out of my subconscious and have materialized themselves in my reality through my own voice. I wish I could take those things back, because I don't believe any of them. There is nothing about me that I would change for anyone else. As a matter of fact, I probably shoot myself in the foot a lot when it comes to certain things that I would not mind changing. But because somebody else told me that I should, no, I don't want to. I don't want to do it for you. I want to do it on my own accord, because I want to preserve myself. But it's not something that I would do to appease anyone, because ultimately nobody else's opinion matters of what I think about myself. So a lot of times I'll speak about myself, or I'll say certain things, and I'll have some of my friends, for instance, I'll say, oh, my fat ass or my big ass. And, I'll have friends that are like, oh, well, don't say that. Just call yourself this, call yourself that. I am okay with being fat. I understand that I am medically overweight. I can look at myself and see that I have excess weight. That does not bother me. It doesn't. And to be honest with you, people who try to poke and prod at that very thing, it's low-hanging fruit. I've been hearing that since I was in elementary school. And to be honest, I wasn't even fat then. I don't think most of the times that I thought that I was fat, that I was actually fat. Hindsight 2020. But like, that's low-hanging fruit. You're gonna have to come harder than that. And that's fine. It's not anything that I've never heard before. But outside of that, again, like I said, I do a lot of people a favor to being my size. And there isn't anything that I would change about myself. Now, I do poke and prod still when it comes to certain things, because in my eyes, I'm like, ooh, that would be cute if this was a little bit more refined, if this had a little bit more definition, like, I would feel good about myself. But none of which that I'm doing in order to appease anyone else's palate. These are just things that I just want to see a change. And then there's other moments where I look at myself, after I've snapped a cute pic or randomly look at myself in the mirror with a new fresh pair of eyes. And I say, never mind. Never mind. I kind of like that. I kind of like this quirk. I kind of like this small imperfection that I have, because nobody else, I've never seen this on anybody else. I've never seen it this way. I've never seen these particular features matched up together. And I put myself at ease. All in all, as a woman, we do a lot to each other and to ourselves. We put in a lot of effort to make ourselves feel worse than what the world is already doing to us. There is nothing that we haven't heard before. Everything under the sun, if it can apply, anything under the sun that is negative, if it can be applied to a woman, it will be. And for those things that are already applied to women, just make it double. Make it double. And here it is. We give them the ammunition. We give them the ammunition from ourselves, and the negative self-talk. We give them ammunition for other women. That's just like I've seen a creator somewhere online. God, I hate to even bring it up because now it's probably going to come in my algorithm. But we have these women online saying that, if you're overweight, you shouldn't have a man. Well, first of all, let's unpack that, right? My body is not merely made for a man. My body is not merely made for a man. That is not the only reason I exist here. So making the structure of my body determine if I decide or if I should qualify for a man, that's not the only reason that I'm here. It isn't the only reason that I'm here. As a matter of fact, I would have much rather them say something like, okay, if you're overweight, then I don't know, maybe you don't deserve to go out to eat. I don't know. I don't even know what to put in that category, because but to just reduce us to reduce women. When I say us, I mean women. To reduce women to, if you don't look a certain way, you don't qualify for another human, and then a male at that. It's kind of wild, It's kind of, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to sit with that, because truth be told, unfortunately enough, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on in your relationship status as a woman, and whether you want one or not, sometimes the attention is unwarranted. We do not want it at all. And somehow they won't leave us alone. So that was odd. But anyway, I just think that we can do better as women, especially in healing ourselves as it relates to ourselves, not the world around us, and not men. There is so much that we can give to each other, and there's so much change that we can influence if we just get to the point where we care enough to care about ourselves, but not so much about anything else outside of that. We cater to every living thing on this earth, and somehow we've become the butt of all jokes. And that's just feminine energy as a whole. For the most intuitive energy in this planet, and the closest energy to God outside of children, to be reduced to all of the criticisms that we receive is mind-boggling. And I hope that at some point we all can get on one accord within our mind to make ourselves important enough to love exactly who and where we are, outside of our relation to everything. Because where is it? I believe it's either North Korea or South Korea, and their leader came outside in the press like crying because the women are not having children. Yes, it becomes a problem. This is what happens when women do not feel anything, to be honest, because I can't even say appreciated. This is what happens when women become disinterested in anything. At some point, the world suffers, because unfortunately, we don't Unfortunately enough, we don't just work purely off of impulse. It does have to mean something. You will have the few that will succumb simply because they're trying to meet a need that they feel that they have, which is why they attempt to keep the feminine energy in need for validation, in need for love, in need of acceptance, in need of a place in this world. And we think we've done something by making ourselves of service to everyone else, but we've only furthered the cycle, because the more you've made yourself of service to your children, to your husbands, to your jobs, now you don't know what it feels like just to be. You just have to always be needed. And without being needed, you feel worthless as a woman. So they keep us in need and never fulfill it. So we're running around on this hamster wheel trying to become at peace with ourselves. And then it's like a vicious cycle because we're not at peace. So we're forever searching and looking, trying to fill a void. And then we see women that are thriving or have seemingly filled a void, but no, now we have to make sure that she has a need for something. So we talk down to her, we criticize her, and make her feel worthless because she needs to have a need just like me. So I just hope that we all can get to a place as women where we don't allow this to happen. We deserve to be free and from judgment and shame for simply existing and showing up for everybody. So if you've resonated with the content, please feel free again to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.